Now the people of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, came to him and said, "You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, at Kadesh Barnea about you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land, and I brought back him a report according to my conviction. But the others who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt with fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Now then, Joshua, just as the Lord has promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the wilderness. And so here I am today, 85 years old, and I am still as strong today as the day when Moses sent me out. I am just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me this country that the Lord has promised me that day 40 years ago. You yourself heard then that the Anakites are there, the giants are there, and their cities are large and fortified. But the Lord helping me, I will drive them out, just as he said. And then Joshua blessed Caleb, and he gave him Hebron as his inheritance. And so Hebron has belonged to Caleb ever since, because he followed the Lord, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. I like that guy. I want to be like him. He waited 40 years, but he got what God promised. He followed with everything that he had. You see, when we're seen through the eyes of fear, we forget what God can do. We underestimate what we can do. And we doubt the goodness of God. You see later in chapter 14, you see how the people, they're before Moses, and they're all upset. And this is what they say: if only we had died in Egypt or in the wilderness. But why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Why is God doing this to us? Why has God brought us here in the face of these giants? Why has God brought us into the face of a reality that we don't think we can handle? God doesn't love us. God can't be trusted. God won't deliver us. Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better to go back to Egypt? They doubted the goodness of God. They forgot what it said to Jeremiah 29:13. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans for hope in the future. And 40 years later, Joshua would be standing at the banks there of the Jordan River, and I just imagine he was like a wrestler waiting to go out to the national tournament. I mean, you've been working all hard. You've been in the desert for 40 years, laboring, and tomorrow the hammer drops, and this is the real deal. And God comes to him that night, and he says this: "Have I not commanded you, Joshua? You be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, because the Lord, Yahweh, is with you wherever you go. And when you put your feet in the waters of the Jordan, I will stop the Jordan for you. And when you march around the walls of Jericho, I will knock them down. And when you are delivering on a promise that you shouldn't have made, but you are being true to your word by protecting the Gibeonites, I will cause the sun to stand still to vindicate my name and to vindicate your name, and I will do miracles for you, Joshua. Only be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged. Don't doubt my goodness, Joshua. Never doubt my goodness." See, when you see through the eyes of faith, you doubt his goodness. And when you do all that, you receive the inevitable result: discouragement, discontent, and defeat. And they were discontent. They started pointing fingers. And, oh, God, why did you bring us out here? We'd better if we would have died in Egypt. And then they began to get nostalgic, because that's what happens when you got discontent. When you got discontent going, you're not looking at the future. All you're thinking about, oh, it was so much better back in the past when